Hey, you, Nina here. You are officially listening to Triggered. Can we play with that wherever you get your podcasts? You might also be watching us on YouTube. So, hey, friend, let's get to it. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. Now, typically, I share one moment with you or one skill. We workshop it or psychoeducate a little bit on it. Then we flip the script. I give you a challenge for your upcoming week and we say goodbye. This one's going to be a little bit different. We have Pranjali Chauhan with us today. And what's really important about today's episode is we are continuing, as with all episodes, to transform hard conversations into teachable moments. And the way we human is so different from the ways other people may human. Yes, we are individuals and we just don't belong in boxes. But that's not going to stop the world from trying to put us in a box. And it doesn't stop social structures, jobs, things of this nature from trying to put us in boxes, right? Today's episode, the way that I really experienced it being in the moment with Pranjali is that it's about being an individual and about discovering yourself as an individual in a world that may not cater to really supporting one's discovery of individuality. And so, if you are exploring how to own your truth, right? If you are exploring your own individuality, if you are exploring being, we're going to talk about this, quote unquote, a misfit, this episode may be for you. Now, I will tell you, we usually try and keep episodes 15 to 30 minutes. This episode is over an hour long. We really got to talking. And what I want to invite, if you are going to listen, whether you sit all at once and listen, whether you come in spurts and listen to it over in little bits throughout your day or throughout your week, or if you just listen to the first 15, 25 minutes, right? Whatever works for you, I am inviting you to recognize the very human experience, right? Again, we want to transform hard conversations into teachable moments from one human to another human being. And this episode is that long because this is what this human being needed. This is what we were holding space for. There wasn't just one moment. There were so many moments. And so that is a little bit about what we are going to be exploring. Get out your journal, folks, or a really good friend to dialogue with you, about what is going to come up for you in this episode. You, of course, know, for now, I am curious. Are you ready to play? Welcome to Triggered. Can we play with that? You know that moment when your emotions ramp up in an instant, leaving you feeling helpless, frozen, or out of control? In that moment, you've been emotionally hijacked, the very definition of triggered. And I want to ask you, can we play with that? I'm Nina L. Garcia, drama therapist and empowerment coach of Houston Creative Arts Therapy. Join me as we discover ways to empower you and the people who mean the most to you to transform hard conversations into teachable moments. Triggered. Real playful. Real respectful. Real empowered. Let's take a breath. We are being a little bit more free with our breath today because we have Pranjali here.
Hello.
Pranjali, how are you feeling in this moment?
Amazing. Very excited. Just looking forward to how this goes.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so before we share any more information, we are going to set the intent, right? We want to have a human to human conversation, right? We want to transform hard conversations into teachable moments. So if we step into hard or uncomfortable or sticky spaces, I say, I consent to it, I'm ready for it, and I'm ready to have your back.
Right.
Do you consent to moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. So I'm going to pass the ball on over to you, Pranjali. Tell us just a little bit about you. What identities, roles, how do you identify these days? What's important to you? Whatever you want to share, go for it.
Do you have a time limit on that? Because I could go on.
60 seconds is on the clock.
All right, let's do this. Okay, so I'm a defense kid. My father served the Indian Navy. So I've traveled all my life because he was always getting posted after every 2 to 5 years. So I started in Port Blair, moved to Mumbai, went to Calcutta, went to Visakhapatnam, came back to Mumbai. And I've been in Mumbai for 11 years now. Mumbai is in India. For those who don't know, I hope you know, Mumbai is in India. As then after grad, so I pursued my economics and statistics and mathematics degree from St. David's College, Mumbai. I've always been into sports, into painting, dancing. Like I've been a very all-rounder kind of a kid ever since childhood. And my parents have always encouraged me. My mom would send me to karate classes. I'm also a black belt. I got my black belt in fourth grade thanks to her. And yeah. So dancing has been my passion since the very beginning, you know. And after graduating, I worked for a year in a startup, and I realized like the kind of person I am, the personality that I have, I'm not meant for a desk job to just sit in front of a laptop and like look at the graph, look at the charts, make decks, tell them like, hey, this is where you're messing up, do this. No, that's not my cup of tea. And I decided to take a plunge, and I left my job and I took up dancing. I trained for 2 years in Mumbai under the DanceWorks Performing Arts Academy, which is run by Ashley Lobo, who's also a very famous Australian Indian choreographer. He went and trained himself in jazz and modern dance in Australia. Mm-hmm. And then he came back to India and started. Funny thing is, DanceWorks and I have the same birthday. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, like DanceWorks is 24 years old and I'm 28. And I'm like, hey, I'm your older sister. Oh. Yes. Oh so I trained myself. Journey. Yes. Yes. I trained myself in jazz, ballet, contemporary, Latin. Bollywood has always been in my blood. So I never thought I should train in Bollywood. Yeah. I tore my ACL in 2018. That was like a turning point in my career. And post which I had two options, either do a surgery or try doing a lot of physio, a lot of gymming, a lot of cycling, a lot of swimming, a lot of Ayurvedic treatments. So that I chose the second part. And yes. It took about a few months for me to like, of course, like once you tear your ACL, you don't get back to the same agility that you had before. Like it will never be the same. Mm-hmm. So your body has to adjust. So I had to, if my ambitions were here, yes. I had to drop them down a notch.
Are we getting into your story a little bit too today? Okay. Let's pause here then. Let's pause.
All right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I mean, so I'm hearing active, athlete, higher education, dancer, right? Injury we've got in there, right? A person who's been injured. And I'm not even getting everything, right?
There's no, you're on the right track.
Diverse experience up to this point, right? Decided desk job, not for you. So I'm hearing like body's got to move, right? Maybe more somatically oriented, right? Especially as a dancer, we know this. Air 5U is like, yes, fellow dancer. Okay. So of all these, right, these different roles, scenes, identities that have popped up here, I want to check in before we go into your moment, because the moment that you gave me, you titled it The Unavoidable Catastrophe. And I think that's really telling when we think about it's not just a catastrophe. It's not just, this is an unavoidable catastrophe. So I'm really curious about why was it unavoidable, right? Exploring that. And your hope in sharing this is that it will help other people realize that they're not alone, right? When the hard times are here, when we're struggling, we're not alone, that there are people that we can reach out to and that life does get better, right? It's so temporary. So I want to check in with you before you share more about this moment, the unavoidable catastrophe. What is your internal weather like right now?
At this moment,
yes.
Little calm, but also very little nervous as to, like what if I just like fumble and like what if I just have a breakdown while sharing my story. But I know it's normal to like, if I just cry, or it's fine. Like it's just my story. I went through it. I'm out of it. It's great. Life is good. Getting better. So yeah, otherwise I'm good.
Yes. Okay. I love that too, that you just shared the right good and getting better. It's like, it's a constant journey, right? It's not like we get somewhere and we're like, I'm perfect, I don't need to grow anymore, right? It's like, absolutely. We're so human. Okay. All right. So no more talk from me. I want to hear your story. The listeners want to hear your story. This is the unavoidable catastrophe.
Yes. So I think why I chose that word in the first place is sometimes because, people would want to help you. Of course, your parents, your family, your close friends, your professors, your mentors, your coaches, your your fans. They want to like help you, support you, guide you. But sometimes there comes a point of time where you feel what you think is right, not because you're arrogant, but because of the experiences you've had. And I'm someone who I will take their information and I will keep it as an information in the back of my mind. I will not make my decision basis what you've said. I will make my decision basis what I have experienced, what I feel.
Lived
So
experience.
there were certain decisions that I made which were clearly not the best and clearly didn't work the way, clearly didn't pan out the way I imagined it would be. And that's life, right? Like that's life. You plan for A, D happens, and you end up at F, you know, like.
I love that imagery. You plan for A, D is what happened. You end up at F.
Yeah, and sometimes you then while you're pursuing F, you realize, hey, I want to go to H, but you probably end up with a X at the end. You know, like
Life's a
life is not
journey.
yes, like alphabets. But unfortunately, it doesn't go in that order. It can go like anywhere.
I love this for our listeners who are listening but not watching on YouTube. Right? Pranjali is moving a hand up and down, right? This is like the journey is not linear the way that I think a lot of us are told to believe. Like it's like, if you just do this and you just do that, then this is what will happen. Like 1+1 does not always equal 2.
Correct, absolutely. So, like we are told as children, like, okay, you just have to study hard till your 12th grade, then you'll get college, and then you'll get a job, and then your life is sorted. But it isn't that easy, right? Like if it was that easy, everyone would be doing that, but clearly that's not happening. So why? Because everyone has different personalities, different experiences. They react to different situations differently. Say, like I'll share a story. I was hired in a company. Like I realized, in fact, that maybe being an artist is not the most financially stable and secure decision for me.
True.
And it's not like I only can be an artist. I have a degree, I have a brain, it works. I know I'm smart. I know I can like make life better for myself. So I
Nice.
have that option. I'm a very privileged person to have that option, that opportunity to explore, thanks to my family, because of their support, because of their encouragement in all times and every day. Like they've been by my side. Of course, like when I was changing and pivoting, there was a lot of resistance from their end because they knew that, you know, like Pranjali, this is not stable. And I'm like, no, I need to try. If I don't try, how will I know? I
I
don't
mean, this
want any
is like,
regret.
yes, this is what we talk about. This like the hero's journey. And it's like the hero can't be the hero of their story if they haven't been through challenges, if they don't know a season of sacrifice, right? It's like if you haven't gone through the challenge, how do you get stronger? How do you learn? So
Absolutely. Sometimes, like I said, sometimes the universe will make you go through shit so that you come out of it wiser, more mature, more strong, more confident, more sure of yourself.
right, this
And
is our hashtag resilience moment.
absolutely. And I didn't know I was being resilient in certain ways because I thought being resilient means nothing can nothing can affect you. And you're like this rock solid wall all the time.
Oh, I see.
I got that reality check just 2 weeks back when I was fired from a job. So, like I was mentioning, so I started applying for jobs and thinking that, okay, maybe I'll keep my dance and my art as a side hustle, as a passion project. My main income can be coming from a like 9 to 5 job. In the evenings, I'll focus on my art, or during the weekends, I'll take time out and work on myself. So that is something I was looking forward to. So I got through a company. I felt it was a beautiful fit because all my life I felt that, you know, I've been in toxic environments where people haven't seen me for me. They haven't appreciated what I bring to the table. They haven't acknowledged, or I didn't feel heard. I just felt like, hey, you're a nobody. You're not good enough. What are you doing here? Why are you here?
Yeah.
What's happening? Go back. And I'm like, this is not what I like. I don't feel that's right. You know, like it's feeling so wrong in my body, the way you're talking to me, the way you're reacting to me.
Yeah.
And it just felt like, no, I deserve something better. I deserve something much more magical for me, you know, much more tolerant, not tolerant, that's such a wrong word to use. Much more like, hey, queen, I see you, man. Let's queen together.
You're seen, you're heard, you're felt, you're valid, right? That you're validated as a human being, right? Celebrated in your individuality, 100%, right? I mean, some of the things you're describing, are like psychoeducation pieces I'm just throwing out here. It's like minimizing, misrepresentation, and outright rejection. Like all of those are signs that somebody's willing to oppress you as an individual because they don't understand. Then they don't know how to celebrate you, which is a shame for them. But it puts the
Exactly.
burden on you as well.
Yeah, because then you wonder, you're like, is something wrong with me? Why can't they see me for me? Like, I know I'm great because my friends and my family know how great I am. Why can't you see me that for that? Like, where what kind of lens are you wearing that that I need to ask you to remove them and like, hey, see me for me. I
Yeah.
was
Oh,
never
yeah.
given that ever in my life after graduation. Even in college, I wasn't.
Mm.
Not complaining here. I'm just sharing. Like it's a part of life. It happens to almost everyone. So it's okay. I made peace with it. So for the first time, I got hired into a position, into a company where I felt seen, I felt heard, I felt celebrated. Like I
Wow.
negotiated my salary because I thought I brought a lot of value to the table, and they realized that, and they accepted it. And
Okay.
they
So we're all on the same page.
yeah, and they try to like make like they're like, listen, you're quoting a little more higher. Can you like please? I'm like, okay. Then they're like, okay, we'll give you a bonus after a year. I'm like, okay,
Okay.
we
So
can
some
work that out.
growth.
We can work that out.
Okay.
And it was perfect. Like I thought it was a perfect fit. I was into the team. I was helping everybody. The whole company knew me, even though we are based out of 3 different cities. Everyone knew there's a Pranjali Chauhan was entered this organization, not because I wanted them to know who I am, but just that's my personality. I want to help people. I want to know what's happening. I want to know, like, how are you here? Why are you here? How's it like working here? What can I do better to, elevate my professional career? And,
People person.
yes, that. So I was exactly that. And in 2 weeks, they decided that, I'm a misfit,
Mm.
which came to me as a shocker because in my core, in my heart, I felt like this is the place I want to thrive in. I will
Yeah.
give it my all.
Mhm.
But they didn't really see that, I guess. And I
Mhm.
don't blame them. It does take time. It's a very different pivot to see an artist coming to a desk job, and it's a big change for them in their mindset. And I'm very grateful for them to even accept me for
Mhm.
those 2 weeks, because a lot of companies have that resistance. Like, hey, you did your BA from EcoStats. Why didn't you do Bain? Why didn't you do McKinsey? Why didn't you do Google, LinkedIn, Facebook? Like, why are those companies here if you're that great? I'm
Mhm.
like, I wanted to pursue my passion. And there's nothing wrong in doing that, right? Until
Mhm.
unless you give it a shot, you wouldn't know what could have happened. And such beautiful things have happened to me in my journey. And I will be forever grateful to dance and being an artist, being on shoots, being on sets, giving shows, performing in front of like celebrities and, some really honored people. It's been a great journey that way. I will not deny. But of course, pandemic hit, nothing happened. Arts was the first industry to be dropped. I lost my job as a dance teacher from a school because kids don't need dance, they need maths. That's the culture that is there in India right now. Unfortunately, arts has always taken a backseat
Can you repeat that again? You lost the job as a dance teacher because what was the reason?
because subjects like maths, science,
Yeah.
English were more important than arts, dance, singing, playing an instrument.
So the position was removed, right? So then the
Yeah,
opportunity to explore
yeah.
that
So
is
I was
removed.
like, is this how it's going to be all my
Mhm.
life? Will they always
Mm.
throw me out because arts is not that important in the society?
Oof.
So I
We're gonna.
decided to take matters in my own hands, and I decided, okay, like we are struggling, everyone's struggling. Let
Yeah.
me start my online dance and fitness classes. And that's something I've never done. I used to only take workshops. Regular teaching is something I never did. Except
Mhm.
for when I was in dance works with the academy, I used to teach as a teacher there.
Yes.
And that was only because they asked me to do it, not because I loved teaching. So I discovered my love for teaching when I would watch my students grow. Because when I teach, Nina, I teach them to be themselves. I
Yep.
don't want them to be like me. I don't want them
Mhm.
to be the most technical dancer that on earth. I want to just come to the space,
Mm.
embrace what they are, how they're feeling, acknowledge it, accept it, and thrive from there.
This is so beautiful because what I'm hearing from you in the way that I would look at this is I would say you are teaching human beings to embrace their individuality instead of an idea of perfectionism that is out there.
Absolutely. Yes.
Mm.
And while I do preach that, I find it difficult to practice sometimes, which I agree. Like, it's easy to preach, right? It's easy to, hey, girl, be yourself, acknowledge your body, embrace your curves.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm like, oh my God, why does my stomach come out of this? Well, I've not worked out in a year. Oh my God, what's happening to my body? You
We're
know, so
human. We're human.
like we are, aren't we? So yeah, the company decided to fire me. And I felt betrayed because they told me they'll give me a month and this happened in just 2 weeks. I'm talking about this because this is a very recent episode that's happened. It's just been like 10 days since my firing.
And
And
the company, you're going back to the talking about the company that was there for 2 weeks, not the online dance classes that you
yeah,
decided
yeah,
to
no,
start.
that online dance classes was mine. Which is
Okay.
my
Okay.
my classes are still on. If anybody wants to come and learn, feel free to reach out.
I was about to say, so for sure at the end of the episode, everyone, you're going to want to get this information, right? If you are not following Pranjali on Instagram, we will also give that at the end so that you can see what kind of energy this is. A brief little, I'm going to get on a stage for you and be your fan here. I found Pranjali on Instagram and the energy was so evident, right? Pranjali and I have never met in person. Your energy was
Not
so
yet.
present.
Very soon we shall meet.
It'll happen. But I think that like your energy was just so present. I was like, I have to have this soul like on the podcast. I have to have you speak about, what's going on in your very human life, but with this energy that you've got that was just, oh my gosh, it was just so present. And so I'm so glad that we have you here so far in the
Absolutely.
story.
I'm so grateful that we are doing this.
We've got so far in the story, right? You are a dancer. You realize the 9 to 5 wasn't as aligned with you as possible, but opportunity wise, it was necessary, right? You
Right.
had to have a job opportunity wise. And I love that you said you created your own online world, because for those of us who don't necessarily fit into our present opportunities or resources that are available in our area, if we don't necessarily fit, sometimes the best thing we can do beyond try our best to survive, right, is figure out how do we thrive creating our own world, right? How do we create and claim space and create space so that we do get to fit and be vibrant?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's where we are. So
pandemic gave us such a beautiful opportunity, like the number of bakers, the number of artists, the number of dancers, singers, actors that came in from everyone's house, because everyone resorted to art at the end, right? And then they say art is not important.
I was about to say, pandemic opened up a whole box of worms for a lot of people who realized, wow, I don't know how to process this. What's a potentially easier way for me to process this is through the creative space, to express myself through art, through dance, through music, through, entire videos we saw in pandemic of countries. The only way that you could connect with other people was to play music out your window. And here, it's just how
Netflix,
important.
Amazon
We
Prime,
could do a whole episode on that.
Yeah, let's do it.
But okay, so we're going to wrap it. We're going to get it back into your story, right? Okay. So you recognize these things two weeks ago, right? Or after 2 weeks, they said, no mas, right? No more. This isn't a good fit, right? They felt that you
and
weren't
they told me that we'll be giving you 1 month for sure for you to settle down, because you're coming from a very different background.
They had really strong.
I always had that, okay, I have a month. I don't need to rush. I have time. And suddenly out of the blue on Friday, they say, it's your last day. You're a misfit. This is not firing you. You're just a misfit. But obviously my brain would think like, hey, they rejected me. Hey, they fired me. Hey, something is wrong with me again. So I had a colossal breakdown for 10 minutes. I was howling and crying with my best friend on the phone. And I'm just like, why me? When I finally thought, I'm finally in some good environment where I can be myself and I can just help people, help myself. And we're all winning, right? That's when we all win. And I was just like, not happening. And then after 10 minutes, she's like, okay, please breathe. Take your time, process it, take a week off. And I'm like, bullshit, I'm not taking any time off. I am applying for companies right now. And after 10 minutes, I started sending my CVs, I started networking, started connecting, started reaching out. Hey guys, this happened with me. What can I do? Where can I go to? What am I supposed to do next? Help me out.
And this is the kind of person you are, right? I'm sort of getting this in, right? Is you're a go-getter, growth oriented. You want to make sure that you have your purpose has a funnel. Yes. Is this not how you, yes. Okay, good. So this is the energy I'm getting from you. I do have a question. Can I ask a question?
Go for it.
I am curious, when they said misfit, right? Not that you were a bad employee, right? Because it's not we're firing you because you didn't do what we needed you to do, right? There's something energetically, character, personality wise, maybe, right? There's something that they said was a misfit. Do you feel like now with hindsight, it being a little bit behind, right? But still pretty fresh. Do you feel like you have any idea of what they might have perceived as being a misfit?
Yeah, I do. I have a very good idea because I've been talking to a lot of people from the corporate background, and I've been telling them in detail how my 2 weeks were, what all I did, how I didn't find support when I needed help. So I reached out to external people for support and help because I'm not going to sit here and cry like, hey, you're not helping me. That's not me. You're not helping me. Okay, I'll ask somebody else who can help me. Even if it's not someone from the organization, because I reached out to the founder, co-founder level people like, hey guys, my VP doesn't have time for me. Can you please help? And funnily enough, of course, I know it's a startup. Of course, there are so many things happening at their end, so many new changes that one Monday, 1 week into the training, Monday, we were releasing a new feature. So it was changing our whole sales process altogether. So I understand, like, at the leadership level, like things are crazy. There are a lot of bugs happening, a lot of planning is going on, a lot of firefighting is going on. So I understand.
And you have
I'm
a
like, oh,
lot of
guys,
energy coming into that. Okay.
yeah, and I'm like, guys, it's okay. Like, I'll find somebody else. But don't fire me like that. Like, don't give up on me that easily, right?
I hear that, and that's what I hear. I hear so the image that you've got as an outsider, right? As a witness to even just the story that you're sharing, because I'm not there, right? Don't know all the intricate details, but I can imagine a startup company with all the fires that they're putting out, the bugs, the different things. They're trying to figure out how they work together.
Right.
And when somebody with very unique individual, let's do it, that fire energy is what I sort of say, right? Comes into the picture. If they're not ready for it, they won't know how to funnel your energy effectively. And so
Absolutely.
you're here saying, I want a funnel. Let me reach out. I'm going to reach out to this one. Hey, they didn't have time. Can you do this? You're here trying to find a funnel. At some point, it sounds like they were just like, we don't know how to funnel you. So we're going to have to let you, it's a misfit. So it's not that something's wrong, right? It's, we don't know how to funnel fire energy right now. I don't know, maybe we need water or we need air or, right. I'm using metaphors here now for everyone out there who's like, why was I a misfit? I think this is a great question. Really ask yourself, like, what kind of energy were they looking for? Because it doesn't mean that there is something wrong with you, right? It means there was some difference, something that, right, was different, and they didn't know how to potentially deal with it and build that bridge.
Absolutely, because I was working with almost every department, like the whole company, all the VPs knew that there's a Pranjali because I was with the bugs, I was with the marketing, I was with events, I was handling online. I was there. When I'm there, I'm there. I'm not just like silent participator at the back and like just like judging people and listening. I'm
And I
there.
bet that would have been easier for them, right? If you had been silent, if you had been judging me for the quiet, right? It would have been one less thing for them to even notice, but they would have been paying you to do less than you're capable of, is the thing.
Probably. You are probably right, but you never know. Like they did talk to me about like a misfit in terms of, we're expecting you to achieve this much in this time.
Mhm.
But I said, okay, you gave me this much time. So why are you expecting this much in this much time? Like you see this, I was supposed to get 2 more weeks, which I didn't get. So that's unfair. That's unprofessional, I feel.
Mhm.
But whatever, they made their decisions. But honestly, one door shut and the number of doors that have opened for me after that.
Alignment, right? When something is a misfit and it doesn't work, alignment is just another opportunity to say, can we get realigned? What happened, Pranjali? Tell us what happened when things realigned. Opportunities.
I will tell you. So I have been pushing myself as a choreographer, as an anchor for Sangeet. Sangeet is basically like a big dance party in Indian weddings where everyone comes together and there are performances for the bride and groom. Even the bride and groom perform. So that's called a Sangeet in India. And in terms of anchoring, it's like basically, of course, hosting the event. So I did that for my sister's wedding in 2019 because someone who we were banking on for anchoring, she fell sick. And I was handling everything. Like I was like the wedding planner for my sister's wedding. And they tell me last minute, like, hey, we don't have this. What can we do? Obviously, it'll all come to me because I can't give it to anybody else. I'm not gonna guarantee that. It's my sister's wedding, right? Like I want it to be perfect as best it can be.
Yeah.
So randomly I took up the mic and I just started out. And because I think I'm a dance teacher, I'm a dance instructor, I can connect with people well. Like I'm that kind of a dance instructor, and not all dance instructors can do that. Like, let me highlight that very well.
Yeah.
Maybe
You got
they're
great
good
stage
dancers.
presence.
Yeah, maybe they're good dancers. Maybe they're the most technical dancers, most beautiful dancers. But if they can't connect with people, you can't do what I did. It's as simple as that. You can't pull that off. And the number of people who came up to me after the event got over, like, hey, we are hiring you for our child's marriage. And I'm like, really? I was just like having fun. I was making sure you guys
You were
have
just
fun.
being yourself.
Yes.
Right? Like you were just
Yes.
being yourself, and people saw the people who were a good fit saw it, and they were like, oh,
Yeah.
that's what we want.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'll do that. And my friends are like, you have to become an anchor. You make a show reel for yourself. We will promote you. We'll push you. We'll do it for you. I'm like, okay, fine.
Opportunities.
Yes, always. So I've been trying, but nothing worked out. And I'm like, okay, maybe it's not meant for me. But 3 years after that, like 4 years, 2019, right? 4 years after that, I'm getting calls from my family friends saying, hey, can you come? I'm getting married. I want you to host my wedding. And I'm like, uh, wow, okay, thanks. I will. Cool. It's like, okay, what are you going to charge? I'm like, hey, it's you. I don't know, man. Like, you're my family friend. I can't, like, whatever you want to give. Like, I'm not going to say a word. I'm just grateful to be doing this. You know, I need it. So she's like, okay, let's do it. And after that, I get another call from another friend, college friend. She's getting married. She wants a choreographer and an anchor. She's like, Pranjali, you have to come. I'm like, book my tickets. I'll be there.
Yes.
I have nothing to lose. Like, there's nothing holding me back right now. My job is not holding me back. There's nothing. There's nobody who's telling me, like, no, you are not allowed to get out of the house.
Nothing to lose
That's
and
not
everything to
happening.
gain. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so, okay. So where does this story, at least for today, right? For this moment, where does the story feel like it ends for this moment? Because we've got that you started back in 20. Now, for everybody out there, just in case you forgot, we did have a pandemic, right? Which vastly affected job opportunities, in particular, large gatherings for several years, right? So after a few years go by, all of a sudden you're getting some calls coming in, right? The universe has sort of opened up this opportunity window. So you have the opportunity to pursue creativity, as well as, I imagine, you are getting paid for this. So it's helping to support you great in that way. I mean, this is you creating that space potentially.
And I've just been networking and talking to people and like just understanding, you know, people who've made it as an artist. I'm like, guys, how did you do it? And they all told me, Pranjali, you cannot just rely on arts to sustain your life. You'll burn out. And that's exactly what happened to me last year in March. I was brutally burnt out. I was taking 8 classes a day. And that's not a joke for a dancer. That means 8 times, I'm like 8 hours every day. I am giving everything that I have to give.
Yeah.
And if your cup is not full, you cannot give. And my cup was like depleted.
Oh, yeah.
Yet I was pushing myself like, no, I have to do this. I have to earn my money. I have to pay my rent, because like a smarty that I am, I decided to move out of the pandemic, move out of my parents' house in the pandemic, when everyone else was moving back to their parents' house.
Oh, this is quite the, I mean, this is I would almost like, this is a risky move, right? In pandemic, moving out of a secure space to a place, right? It's a risky move. It doesn't mean it's a wrong move necessarily, but a risky one. And so
it really helped me, because I was on fire, because I had so many responsibilities. I was adulting for the first time. I was living away from my parents for the first time in my life in 26 years. And I was like, oh my God, this is overwhelming, because I have bills to pay, I have food to look after, I have cleaning to do, I have my classes to schedule.
Life, right? All these responsibilities. I mean,
like
so
when
today,
you talk about it now, adulting is normal, everyone goes through it. But like in the pandemic, when you're adulting like that, within a field like mine, trying to make things work,
it's a different world. It was a different world.
Yeah. And not many people understood that, because they didn't go through that. They can't imagine, they can't understand, they can't empathize. So that's okay. Don't need that, but don't be dismissive of it, is what I want people to like know and be. And like, don't be dismissive of other people's struggles, or just because you've not gone through it.
Yeah, some people are privileged enough to not really feel the pandemic.
Yeah, all these stars, what were they doing? Chilling, partying, traveling. So
So I know we're coming up on time, and I want to make sure that we've got we've got what we need, and right, that we've traveled. We've got the story here, right? Everyone out there has this background of a story. And what we've done is we've popped into like a few years ago, and then the present, and then a year ago, and then the present, and then last year, and then the present. And for the most challenging moment of what was really triggering for you, one of the things that you had written, when I think about the unavoidable catastrophe, is with all of these things, is that what made this the moment that you're about to share, the catastrophe?
yeah,
Okay, we've got all these things on the plate, and we come into we've got torn ACLs, if people didn't catch that before, right? So a dancer's body, right? The main instrument is not performing as it is used to, right? It can't perform as used to. And then the one thing we have not spoken about, which I know you're about to talk about, right, is when you finally hit rock bottom with all this, right? We've got a very particular kind of energy. We've got lots of different things happening. What was the rock bottom?
right. So last year, Jan, like, so in the entire pandemic, I was like the best student of the government, listening to all the rules, telling us to like shut up and sit down, stay home. I would not go anywhere. And I would see all my friends going to Goa, partying whenever like the lockdown would lift. We had three waves, right? In India, we had three waves. I'm sure everywhere we had three waves. So we had three different kind of lockdowns. So there were, in between, there were spaces where, some liberty was given and people decided to take use of that. But me, on the other hand, I'm like, no, pandemic is still there. We have to be careful. Also because I was living with someone who was very scared of falling sick, who was very paranoid about falling sick and getting COVID. So I'm like, okay, cool. It's fine. I don't have to go out. It's okay. I will isolate myself for 3 years. Very normal. It's okay. Don't need to meet people. So my pandemic story was very different from a lot of people's pandemic story.
Mm-hmm.
So I really isolated myself, which was very toxic for a person like me who loves to meet people, who energizes by interactions, who loves socializing, who's a very outdoor person. So of course I struggled, but then I found my ways to, like keep myself busy, entertained, and like occupied. I figured like, maybe I can start playing badminton because that's also indoor and I'm not really directly meeting people. We are
Okay.
maintaining distance, we are
Yeah,
playing.
trying
And
to make it work.
okay, yeah. So that became like my go-to then. That, and then I had to do it every day for my mental health, for my sanity. And when I got COVID in Jan, it didn't it wasn't like something that I've seen or been through before. It messed up my body in ways I can't understand even now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like the Pranjali that you've understood that I am, I was very hard on myself. I must have taken only 3 days break, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday onwards, I was acting as if, no, I didn't get any COVID. What are you saying? No, I'm fine. I'm fit. I'm good. I'm feeling fine. My fever's gone. I'm good. But the fever like hit me like a truck. I felt like I just was on the bed and I would watch videos on Instagram, like, hey, toxic positivity, like I have COVID, but here's me trying to do yoga. Here's me dancing, but I'm dying inside. And I'm like, how did people even do this? I cannot get out of my bed. Here they're trying to dance, do yoga. And I'm like, wow, this COVID is really hitting me different than what it's hitting everyone else because social media is.
It's an illusion, right? And
Yeah.
it really does keep pushing that perfectionist idea of like, keep doing, even when your body just is demanding that you rest, keep doing, right? Oh my gosh. So I've got to wrap up this episode, but I
Right.
really
So
want
I'll
to
make
do.
it super quick. So
Yes.
my
Okay.
ACL injury, which had almost recovered through the physio I was doing, when I started getting back to badminton in the month of Feb,
Mhm.
um, it started swelling up, it started hurting, and I couldn't take part in the tournament that I thought I would take part again and win again because that's what happened last year. So I was like kind of heartbroken. I'm like, okay, fine, this is life, Pranjali. You can't get everything in life. It's okay. Then I had PCOD issues since 2009. That got really worse, and my mood swings were to another level. I was burning out because I had to push myself to pay rent. I was teaching 8 classes a week, a day, sorry. And I was just like spiraling, like just digging my own grave, knowing that I'm digging my own grave, like just going down and down and down and down. Started hearing panic attacks, started getting in and so much anxiety that for 1 week I couldn't eat food because I would either throw up or my body would just take it out in some way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was in the hospital for 3 days with glucose drips on me so that I could like stand, so I could like walk. But my health had taken an all-time low hit. So I moved back to my parents' house. I ended a toxic relationship, which in the hindsight was also good in a way, but also very toxic in a way. A lot of changes were happening. I was feeling like a failure because, I wasn't able to pursue dance. I stopped teaching online. I stopped all my classes. I stopped moving. I stopped playing. I stopped talking to people. I cut myself off from my friends because I thought they'll judge me that I failed. When my parents told me, like, dance is not your thing. Don't take it as a career. This boy is not the right one for you. Don't pursue it. These two things, I'm like, if I had listened to them, constantly that voice was like, they were right, you were wrong, they were right, you were wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, why do I have to be wrong? Like, why can't this be right? Why can't I make right decisions? Like, what's wrong with me? I'm supposed to be smart. Like I had the expectation for myself. Fast forward, we go to visit my sister, who's based out of US. She's in California. She's an engineer. She's married and settled down there. And we were having a family reunion after 3 years because we were supposed to fly in May 2020, but pandemic hit. So we flew in May 2023. So throughout the time, like, they were very supportive, my parents and my sister and my brother-in-law, and they were trying to like uplift my spirits. But something or the other would keep happening, and I realized, like, I need to get a job. So I was looking for jobs there, and I was like, okay, I want to live with my sister, I really want to stay with her. So after 2-3 months, my parents went back, and I decided to extend my stay by 2 more months, and feel that, like, I want some time out, I want some space just for myself. Those months were beautiful, and that's when you get to know that my dad has to undergo a bypass surgery, which was a shocker for all of us because that's been pretty healthy. And Didi and I had to, like, my sister, in Hindi, we respect our older siblings. We call them Didi. So we both had to fly down on an emergency basis. And mid-November, my dad underwent a bypass surgery, open heart surgery, for those who don't know what that is. That's when I donated my hair. I donated my hair to the hospital that treated him. And I donated my hair on the day he got discharged. So that was like a very powerful moment for me because my mom was very supportive. And I just told her, like, Mama, I just want to donate my hair. She's like, okay, go donate. And I'm like, what? You agree? Because my boyfriend hated me for saying that. He's like, I love your hair. I love you for your hair. Do not ever let go of them. What? Why? They're just hair. They'll grow back. So I was always faced with a lot of resistance, with a lot of negativity, with a lot of no. But with my mom and my parents and my sister, it's like, yeah, you do you, man. Like, we are here for you.
Yes.
And it was met with so much warmth. So many strangers would just smile at me and they're like, we're proud of you. And I'm like, thanks. That's very sweet.
Okay. So this is yet another moment, right? Okay. Question then, with all of this stuff that is going on with you, right? I think the one thing that is written that you wrote to me ahead of time, but that we haven't discussed here, but now I'm curious if it even wants to be discussed, right? Because we have all these details.
Right. Let's talk about it. Why not? So, so from June to say some October. So from June to like say September, I had hit my rock bottom clearly. And I was realizing because I hadn't exercised my intellectual part as much, because for the last 7 years, I've been in the dance and fitness industry, the media industry, the arts industry.
Yeah.
I was kind of like baffled, like, how did I pursue eco math stats as a combination in college? Because right now I'm getting a simple 10 standard level problem. And I'm like, hey, I know this, but I don't know this. I've lost touch with my intellectual side. And I was like, oh my God, have I become dumb? How am I going to study anything? What do I want to study? Like, will any university accept me for who I am? Because to enter US, I have to give my GRE, GMAT, or my TOEFL, all of these exams, right? And I was like, oh my God, nobody's going to take me. because I'm a nobody right now and my brain is not working and my creative side I can't really pursue because of my issues. I was like, oh my God, I have nowhere to go. Like, it's done. My life is over. It's done for good. Let's end it. Thank you, life. Great show. Bye bye. See you next life.
Okay.
So, and no amount of self care, no amount of making art, no amount of talking to people or therapists was helping me at that time. And now that I look back, maybe it was helping me to an extent. But at that moment, I was like, no, you guys are not giving me a solution. You're just telling me to like breathe and pause and focus on what I can do at the moment. I'm like, no, I want to do big things. I'm not able to do anything. This is not okay.
You
This is
felt like,
not okay.
yes. So even as everybody's doing anything, right? So even as you say this, right, you had a smile as you say it, right? But what we just heard is that like you at some point in this journey, things were so stressful, so wild, so not what you had expected the way that your life would go, right? It wasn't ABC, right? That you were like, I need to just end my life.
Yeah.
It just
And
isn't working. You
I
guys need to.
thankfully didn't take any action, which is, and I'm so glad I did not. But my thoughts, my mind, I wouldn't sleep at night. I was sleep deprived. I would never feel energetic to do anything. And they were like, you should do yoga. And I'm like, I do not have the energy, guys. I didn't want to. I don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
So they would really push me. My sister would legit tell me, like, listen, just take my credit card, just get out of the house, do whatever the hell you want to do. Book an Uber, take a cab, take a bus, take a train, just get
Trying to
lost.
get you to move beyond it.
Just go. And I'm like, no, I don't want to interact with anyone.
Like, yes, this is a recipe. Okay, I'm going to jump in here now. We've got this like recipe here of all of these things that are sort of swirling about. That's my imagery on it, is that it's like swirling about. A lot of it is out of your control, right? Yeah. It's like, well, why can't I just have the job that I want? Why isn't it exist, right? Because other people have to create all these different things, right? And so when we think about one of the things that I will share in the way that I, as a drama therapist, will work with other human beings is I'm like, your body will reach a point where it is so overwhelmed that the best thing that it decides as an option is it will be like, well, we should just take ourselves out. Like that'll give you relief. This is the only option, really. We don't have any other options. And so when it feels like that, when that suicidal part comes up, because I'll call it out now that we've mentioned it, right? When that part comes up for all our listeners out there, right? That is a flag that you feel so overwhelmed that you feel like you don't have any choice or options. If we get you feeling like you have choice and options in your life and having a sense of agency, that suicidal part, usually the volume goes down because now it says, oh, you're not as overwhelmed. So you have other ways to relieve yourself. Are you sure you don't need me? Oh, you don't need, are you sure you, right? And it may pop back up a little louder, but overall what we're hearing from you, Pranjali, is, right, you were able to overcome it or not listen to it or turn the volume down on it. I'm curious about if you know how it happened or if it was just time, but some of the things that you even shared that I would want people to listen to and know out there are the isolation that happened. I started to pull myself away. I was worried people were going to judge me. I started feeling like I was a failure. I started feeling like I had no options. All these things.
Because Nina, I am a dance and fitness enthusiast. I'm a wellness coach for a corporate firm. I'm telling people how to de-stress. And what am I doing? Can I do that for myself? I was feeling like a fraud. I'm like, I am not this because I cannot do this. So you should not listen to me. So please get out. I'm not doing anything for you guys. I'm taking a break. And I just told them I have a family emergency. I'm sorry, I can't. I'll let you know once I can.
And you took care of yourself.
And then my students would ask me every month, Pranjali, we miss you. Are you okay? Because I cut off from social media. And if you see my social media, it's the most happening social media. Because I'm always active. I'm always sharing what's happening in my life. For 6 months, I was off social media. And my friend told me, Pranjali, those 6 months when you were silent, you were the loudest then because we all knew something is wrong.
Ooh, can I just repeat that back?
Wow.
The 6 months that you were silent was the loudest you've ever been.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a minute to process that when she told me this. And I'm like, wow. And some random people who I never expected would look after me or would, would wonder if I'm okay. They reached out and I'm like, oh my God, you guys, thanks. And I'm so grateful they did that because I felt like, oh, people care. Not just my friends, but acquaintances who are noticing that I'm not active and I'm a silent person who's just lurking around, sometimes comes to just see stories or just feed. I would not like anything. I would not reply to anyone. I had just disappeared. Very few people I would talk to, like, and they would tell everyone that, hey, she's alive, she's okay. And my mom would post our photos on Facebook. That's how people knew I'm in US. But because from my side, nothing. Nobody knew where I was. They were just like, somewhere she is. We don't know. She's alive. That's all we know.
Question then. Last question I'll ask, and then we'll move to close. With all of this journey and now seeing where you are today, right? And how you're still working things out and you're still on the journey, and it will be a journey, I hope, for the rest of your life, right? I hope mine will be a journey the rest of my life that I won't ever feel like I've just arrived. I hope that I keep arriving. And I think my question is, let me make sure that I'm expressing this in the way that my brain intentionally wants it to come out, not just with intention, but also hopefully that the impact matches. With this journey where it's been, we can't change what's happened up to this point, right? A lot of people will say, I just wish I could take it away. I wish I could forget it. We can't change what's happened at this point. But if there was one thing you could go back and change, if you could go back in time and just tell yourself something, what is the one thing you would change or the one thing you would tell yourself?
Wow, beautiful question. And I just have the answer for it because someone just told me this when I was fired. One of my sister's batchmate, who's also like my career coach and life coach in a way right now, his name is Anurag. He's amazing. He told me, Pranjali, rejection is redirection. And I'm like, oh my God, thanks. Thanks for saying that. It just, that time I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't know what you're saying because I don't see any direction happening right now when I just got fired. Because I was on a call with him only, who helped me understand and clear my pitch a lot better. The external help that I spoke about, it was him. And he's like, I can't believe this happened because we both worked on it. Did you mess up your mock? I'm like, no, they didn't let me do a mock. They didn't give me the chance. And I told them, I've finally understood after 3 mocks what you want. Then I Pranjali, you should have understood after the first mock itself. And I'm like, guys, come on, cut me some slack. But welcome to corporate world. They don't care.
Corporate is very different.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, rejection is redirection. That is such a beautiful share. Thank you for letting me sort of walk with you into, right, what is obviously a very detailed, very multi-layered experience, right? And is still you are actively continuing to.
I'm actively healing. I'm actively like pushing through things, figuring my work out, finding new opportunities. Like I've always created opportunities. I've always built my table when I see there is no space in the room. I'll make a stool and I'll stand there, but I will be there. You know, that's me. Like you don't get me down. So talking about resilience. So I had a breakdown for 10 minutes and I started sending my CV, and my teammates who were in the office with me, they're like, Pranjali, wow, what are you? I'm like, shut up. I just had a breakdown. I'm still crying. So like, please relax. They're like, you're handling it beautifully well. I'm like, you guys are blind. If I was handling it beautifully well, I would have had a job by now. So just shush. You don't know what you're talking about. They're like, no, Pranjali, this is what resilience is. You've just embodied it so beautifully. You don't even know you're resilient. And that's beautiful about you. And even when they were having my exit interview, they're like, you're handling this really well, you know, Pranjali. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't like you guys right now. So whatever you're saying, I'm not gonna listen. I'm like, yeah, you're just saying this for the heck of it. So whatever, blah, blah. And then they're like, you know, we'll give you an experience letter because of the impact you've created in 2 weeks. Nobody else has done that. So we will give you an experience letter. In my mind, I'm like, I'm going to burn that experience letter. I don't need shit from you guys because you're going to regret what you just did like in a few years, and I'll show it to you.
Angry.
I'll be kind about it, you know, I'll be kind about it. I won't be rubbing it in your faces.
You know, what's beautiful about this though is there's a few different things. I'm trying to think about the most one for me as an outsider to this experience. I'm listening and I'm like, so she gave herself permission to be angry, right? Which is a big, right? You were, it's an upsetting situation, right? Everyone is like, wow, you're handling this so much better, which tells me they felt like you were making it easier for them, right? So they had a different idea of how it might have been handled because they knew that this is an upsetting situation.
Yeah.
And then, there was one of the, right, the 10 minutes of being with yourself and then moving forward and them calling this resilience, right? This like, okay, now I'm going to go back, right? For some people, they would need some more time, right? They would need a day, they would need a week, right? They would need some time to be able to do this, right? For some people, it really is, okay, I'm with my feelings, I'm feeling my feelings. And now what's the next step? Because this is not the end. This is a temporary position. And now this temporary position is ended.
This year, my motto was nothing is going to bring me down. Fine, momentarily it might, but I've had my share of shit last year. This year, it's all up and up and up. No matter if I might take a step back some days, but no, I am not giving my permission to like just fall and stay there and like wonder what is happening in life. I'm like, okay, life is happening. This is life. Life is not fair. This is life. Deal with it. Grow through what you go through. You know, do that for yourself.
Grow through what you go through. We got a little like, I love the t-shirt and
I should start like a merchandise, right? I should like have these quotes of myself.
So the last thing then, even with this, like for everyone listening, when you think about resilience in the way that I'll define it in this moment is the flexibility to rise again after a setback. Right? That's what resilience is. It says that there's, I'm moving back and forth. Like there's like a way, right? There's a space of flexibility there. That's what resilience is. And we become more resilient through experiences, right? And for some of us, we get knocked down and we stay down, right? And that's that sort of that knockdown, bottom out. And that can be a natural part of human existence, right? There are sometimes there are things that are truly so terrible, we need a minute to just stay down and recuperate, right? Then there are some things, right, where it's like, let's push ourselves, let's keep going, and let's do this thing, right? And I always want to say, when we have an image that suggests it's like black and white or binary, is like, also know out there, not just to Pranjali, right, but to the world in general, right? When is it time for me to just maintain, to not add more, but also to not settle back, to just say, ooh, I've got just enough right here. I'm going to maintain this so I figure out how to level up in the next time. I think it's a good question, just in general to ask.
Yeah, like finding the balance, you know, like they talk about balance more, like balance is more important than brilliance.
There's another one. Balance is more important than balance over brilliance.
Yes. And process over output, you know, process over outcome.
We said
output over outcome.
Progress is a process. So we got a bunch now. Now it's just like, there you go. Where's the merchandise people out there?
I'm on a roll.
All right. So this is the end we've come to. We've walked through the territory. I am curious now, what are the takeaways for you? And I'll also share, what are the takeaways, right? We want to transform hard conversations into teachable moments. And we noticed that there was a lot of conversation, right? And I always am like, are we avoiding something, right? Before we got to the most triggering thing, right? And I think just so we're clear out there, audience, I do not edit the episodes. This whole episode will go out there because it's so important for us to realize, unless Pranjali is like, no.
Go for it. Let them see it. Let them see it for what it is. You know why?
Yes, right. So it's just like, this is what it is to human. We don't always have the answers. We need to process.
And talking about suicide and talking about trigger, of course, suicide is a very big trigger for me. And just like 2 weeks back, I think, my friend from, I'm going to make it very quick because, you know, we have to also wrap up. I get a call saying, you know, like my fiance is no more because he committed suicide.
Oh my gosh.
And I am traveling to work at 8 o'clock in the morning and I hear this on the call and I'm like, okay, babe. Okay. I am like shaken. My body is shaking and I'm like sitting in a car. We are going ahead, but I feel like I'm sinking down. Yeah. And I'm like, and she's like crying, she's whining and I'm just like, oh my God, like, you know, it's okay. Like, let it out. I was very calm. I'm very surprised how I was like not reacting to what she's doing.
You were holding space.
Yeah, I can't believe I did that because I'm not equipped to handle such conversations, especially for someone who's also healing and who's also like, this is such a big trigger for me to hear somebody give up, even though they were in therapy, even though they were seeking help. And I told her, babe, please go to, like, seek some profession. Actually, Pranjali, was the point? He was also in therapy, and look what happened.
Mm.
And I'm like, how do I convert that bitterness to, like, embracing what it is? I'm meeting her tomorrow. I'm flying to Delhi for that.
Okay. Yes, you have a flight to catch, right? Very
Yeah.
soon.
Yes.
I'm not this therapist. I'm not in the situation. So I'll tread lightly when I share what I'm going to share now. But just for listeners out there in particular, the general humanity thing that I'll share here is, if we believe the idea that suicidal parts pop up to save us, they tried to save us from an overwhelming world. I look at it less as someone gave up, as in they made a choice that they really believed would help relieve them of the intense overwhelm and pain that they might have been feeling. And so there's so much more that could be said on this. And I am sending you energy to be able to hold space for yourself and also for your friend at this incredibly difficult time.
And it's her birthday on 10th.
Oh my gosh, of this month, right? So
I'm just like, I have to be there for you.
Yeah.
If not for anything, but for your birthday, I am coming. Like, I don't know how will I make it happen, because I just got
Show
fired.
up, right?
I didn't have money.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's still that, even if it, right, whether it's what she's going through, it, this is about like you're choosing to show up, right, for whatever she needs, right? It's let me show up, right?
Yeah. And let's see what we can do, how we can make your life better. Because she was like, what do I do with this stuff? There are so many things. And I'm like, babe, let me come. We'll donate it. We'll do something about it. Don't worry. I've got you.
You're going to help relieve
And
her.
talking about debts, I don't do well with debts. I don't know how to react. I don't know how to behave. I think schools should probably like teach you
about death,
a way of, like how to deal with debts, like how to behave, how to react, how to support, how to survive. And last year,
go ahead.
like 2021, my best friend's father passed away on my birthday. And I woke up on my birthday to her message that he's no more. And I was a mess. And I was like, I need to meet you right now. She's like, no, we're taking the body from one city to another, and cremation and funeral, like a lot of things are planned. Like, she wasn't obviously picking up and replying, because obviously you don't do that. But I was feeling so helpless. I'm like, how do I be there for her? Because, she's my childhood best friend, and we've been each other's rocks no matter what life has thrown at us. And it was just a lot for me to take. I also lost my grandparents like a year in that year, one right after the other.
Bit, right? We could do a whole episode on death.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, there's
oh
so
my
much
gosh.
going on.
So I am sending you energy, right? Where can people find you? Right? If they want to be able to share about how they felt, right here, like right here, right? Instagram. What's your handle on Instagram?
So I'm called Pranjoy, Pranjoyy, because I believe in spreading joy no matter what happens in life. I'm also available on like on my Instagram. If you go, you'll have an option of contacting me, so you can even mail me if there's anything you want to discuss. I'm open to conversations. Just know I'm in India, so IST time is preferred. So thank you, Nina, for adjusting that for me.
No, I'm happy we were able to meet up. Thank you for letting us know where people can find you too. I am going to put all that in the show notes, like I said, right? And don't share it. I mean, you could share it now if you want to. I'm going to put in the show notes. I want you to send it to me, make sure I have it. Your online dance classes. That is really what
you can go on my Instagram. There's a link under my profile. It's the Linktree link. It has all the things you need to know. You can register there. You can inquire there. You can reach out to me there. So Instagram is my go-to, guys. So go. I'll see you all there.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So I like to check out with weather. What's your weather checking out?
Excited, nervous, because I have to like really pack my bags and like take a cab and like go to the airport, check in, do my thing.
Okay. So typically what I would say is, I'm curious, would you like us to take one breath?
Why not? Always ready to do that.
Right. Even with all the energy to just.
Yes.
Breath in.
And like take a nice deep in, just take it in and like.
Because you have a lot in front of you. You have a journey. Okay. Pranjali,
I'm traveling for a month.
You what?
I'm traveling for a month.
Oh my gosh. So even this, right? It's like, you can't, no time for breath right now. We got to keep going. All right. Thank you. Thank you to everyone else as well. This is what we planned for today, folks. I really appreciate y'all taking a minute to explore your triggers as a human being, right? We want to exemplify humanity here. Thank you for supporting Trigger. Can we play with that? If this episode has been really helpful for you, it's helpful if you share the episode, or if you give us, if you're like, this was a 5-star episode, I really feel like I learned a lot from this, or, this was really good for me. Go give us that review, but specify which episode really spoke to you. That's how we get that dialogue going, right? About what worked for you as a human being. Let's tag somebody else. Let's get them in on this too. Okay. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Nina. It was wonderful talking to you, and I love the work you're doing. And I hope I meet you soon, because I'm going to fly to US in November mostly, if things go well, to meet my sister, of course, and to celebrate my birthday with her.
Wonderful. Well, I'm wishing you safe travels. And for everyone else out there as well, I hope that we all stay curious.